Jorge. I think this is just a little too simple to be reviewing Drag Race España. Oh, hey! Hi! It's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with the Fingerdoo review of RuPaul's Drag Race España Season 1, Episode 6. It is a hot SOB out there. I don't even have nails on. I'm practically naked, if you can believe it. So we're just going to get right to it. Jorge! Drink me! There's no garnish. No, it's too hot. You couldn't have lied to me and say, why gild the lily? Too late now. At least it wasn't too hot to put hooch in there. Okay, so the queens kicked this episode off by saying goodbye to Ugatio Cruente. Well, everyone except Wilma. For the most part, the queens were done. This last episode took a lot out of them, especially emotionally, but that didn't stop the queens from congratulating Killer on winning the lip sync, even though they were all sorry to see Ugatio go. Well, almost everyone. Not only was Wilma not sorry to see Ugatio go, she made sure everyone knew it. This must have been the last straw where Carmen was concerned, because not only did she tell Wilma that she doesn't have a heart, I heard the word punta in there as well. Look, I'm practically bilingual. But apparently Carmen was only joking, and besides, Wilma agreed she didn't have a heart because Carmen had already stolen it. But what Carmen could want with a lump of coal is beyond me. As the queens de-dragged, Carmen revealed that she was ready to lip sync if need be. She had a surprise wig change ready to go. Does that mean someone wasn't secure in their performance? No, I just don't think Carmen likes to take anything for granted. Good plan. The next day, the queens seemed to be in good spirits. As they entered the workroom, Sagittaria asked if anyone would have done anything differently as far as the competition. Poopy said she would rather have Volcano here over Carmen, but before anyone could comment, there was Supreme looking pretty in pink with this week's mini challenge. And what better way to introduce it than a good old-fashioned fisting reference? That's right, the queens would be reading each other with puppets, because everyone loves puppets until they're possessed by the devil and come for your soul. Seriously. One by one, the queens had to stick their hands in a hole and grab a puppet to make up like their fellow contestants. Sagittaria picked Poopy. Poopy picked Wilma. Wilma picked Sagittaria. Carmen picked Killer, and, well, that left Killer with Carmen. Right away, the queens got to dragging their puppets up. In some cases, the makeovers were shadier than the comments, if you ask me. Okay, just Carmen's puppet. Up first was Sagittaria and puppet Poopy. She seemed to get a lot of laughs from the other queens, but something tells me it wasn't because she was funny. Poopy certainly didn't. To be fair, neither did Sagittaria. Wilma was next with puppet Sagittaria. First off, Wilma's puppet did look a bit like Sagittaria, and not because she was too stupid to spell her own name. And then, Wilma drew a blank. Personally, I think she let the character of her puppet take over, but Wilma led us to think that she didn't want to hurt Sagittaria's feelings. Yeah, right. Like, now Wilma has a heart. Didn't she just say she didn't have one? Seriously. Poopy was next with her Wilma puppet, who walked slowly and overpaid for her costumes, but I still didn't buy it. Poopy's puppet talked way too much, if you asked me. Just saying. Killer was next with puppet Carmen and was well on her way down the same boring route Sagittaria was on until Killer accidentally ripped off Carmen's head. And then it got interesting. There are no accidents. Finally, Carmen was next with her Killer puppet, who was wearing everything, including the kitchen sink, because, well, more is more. Hideous. I don't know if Carmen was the funniest, but she certainly was the loudest, and she had all the queens screaming with laughter right along with her, which is why it didn't surprise me that Carmen won the mini challenge. And as the mini challenge winner, she got to pick the lineup for the Maxi challenge. A roast. The queens had to write and perform a comedy roasting of all the drag judges. Well, right away, the queens got down to writing their sets. I think it's fair to say none of them had an easy time of it. Killer's inability to pick on people really came into play with this challenge. Oddly enough, Carmen had no trouble at all. I'm shocked. Davima commented on how unsaintly she looked while she was writing, and Carmen snapped back at her about her terrible language skills, telling her she couldn't be pretty and boorish at the same time, which I just took to mean bitchy. Just think. While Poopy and Sagittarius shared a table, Poopy noticed how nervous she looked. Clearly, this wasn't going to go well for Sagittarius either. Well, this was a big ask. Roast the judges? It looked like Sagittarius didn't want to bite the hand that holds that $30,000 check. Even though Poopy showed concern for Sagittarius, she didn't hide her joy over Sagittarius' eventual failure. Clearly, this was going to be worse for her than Snatch Game. Is that possible? Carmen and Davima noticed it as well, but Carmen did make a good point. You can't win at everything, and sooner or later, failure will knock on your door, so you should be ready. Something Sagittarius clearly wasn't prepared for. Seriously. Speaking of Carmen, the queens started requesting positions in the lineup. Killer wanted to be in the middle, while Davima just didn't want to follow Poopy. Coward. Sagittarius was the only one who didn't seem to have a preference. Clearly, sensing her worry, the other queens gave her a group hug for support. Or they groped her. Either way, her wallet was missing when they were done. And then it was time for the queens to workshop their material with Supreme and Brice F.A., star of the Los Javis web series Paquita Salas, who is a female agent trying to keep up with modern times. If you're interested, it's currently available on Netflix. Seriously, it's a hoot. Up first was Davima. Her concept was to write in a journal on stage and say all of her poisonous thoughts that way. For the most part, Supreme and Brice liked Davima's concept, but told her she needed actual jokes in her material. Seriously. Killer was next, and she started off her workshop by saying she usually makes fun of herself, and she proved it by reading what she had so far. Mostly fat jokes. Needless to say, Supreme and Brice weren't impressed. Brice suggested she play a character that would allow her to be mean, but with humor. I think that's a good tip. Next up was Sagittarius, who apologized in advance of reading what she'd wrote, which Brice said not to worry, that this was a rehearsal, and it was okay to do it wrong here. I don't know if that actually helped Sagittarius. Most of Sagittarius' material was about the other queens, not the judges. Even though Supreme and Brice gave her some good advice, she still felt lost. Bless. Poopy was next, and she had no trouble ripping the judges' new ones, on paper at least. For the most part, Brice and Supreme liked what she'd written, but when it came to reading what she'd written about Supreme, well, she balked. Apparently, Poopy has trouble mixing meanness with comedy. I think she has a problem mixing meanness with $30,000. Last to the workshop was Carmen. She had written herself an intro that took up a whole page, and Brice nixed that right away and told her to get to the jokes. Supreme and Brice also had some suggestions on how to organize the show's running order. All in all, it seemed like a lot of information for Carmen to take in. Bless. The next day in the workroom, Carmen obviously took the advice she'd been given to heart, because she changed the running order so that now Killer was going first, followed by herself, then Sagittarius, Davima, and Poopy to close. Personally, I thought that was a good lineup, but I would have put Poopy first just to really keep everyone on their toes. Either way, the queens didn't discuss it much because, they had to get ready. And they were skipped. Supreme looked fabulous in her silver jacket that made me think of the Chrysler Building in New York City. Of course, Los Aves were there, along with Anna Locking, and joining the judges this week was Spanish reporter, presenter, and humorist Susie Caramello. Up first, the roast. Killer kicked things off with a character, a lawyer to be precise. Even with the language barrier, I thought Killer did a good job. She likened Los Aves films and television projects as terrorism, and admitted that even Wikipedia didn't know who Anna Locking was. As for Supreme, she pointed out that it took a TV show for her to learn how to brush her wigs. All in all, I think Killer did a great job and didn't make it easy for whoever it was that followed her. And who was following? Oh yes, Carmen! Carmen based her performance off a ditzy TV presenter. So right away, I thought she did a good job. She called Supreme's songs out of date and analoging a seamstress she once modeled for, and dragged Los Jave's career over the coals. To be honest, I was impressed. Sagittaria was next, and all I can say is she looked gorgeous. I was really impressed by Sagittaria, mostly because I wasn't expecting anything from her. She did really well until she started forgetting her lines, and then her nerves got the best of her. From then on, her jokes fell flat, or died as they left her mouth. Wasn't good. Divima and her diary were next. For the most part, I thought Divima did very well, until she was upstaged by that wig, which kept falling into her face. I'm sorry she didn't go with it and make it part of her act, but she didn't, and let it get the better of her. Such as that was. Poopy was last, and I think everyone was expecting her to do so well that she actually fell short of their expectations. And then she went after Supreme's ears. Apparently, she had them done or pinned back or some such thing. Either way, Poopy went in deep and no one laughed. It was a disappointment all around. And then it was time for the runway. Category is Night of 1,000 Rosalias. Divima went first, armed with her MTV Moonman statue and, as always, looked gorgeous. So I gave her a Fingerdoo. Poopy was next, wearing an outfit inspired by Rosalie's video to Pienso en tu mira. At first, I didn't like this outfit, but it's so true to Rosalia's video that I had to give her a Fingerdoo as well. Seriously, here's the Poopy. Carmen was next and looked ravishing in a red outfit inspired by something Rosalia wore to the Grammys. I thought this look was lovely, so I gave it a Fingerdoo as well. Seriously. At first, I thought Killer was an extra from the canteen scene in Star Wars with that white thing wrapped around her face, but then she said it was a recreation of Rosalia's Vogue cover outfit, and I liked it a lot better. Not just that, I thought this was the best her makeup looked all season. So Fingerdoo for Killer, seriously. Last was Sagittaria in a red vinyl crop jacket and matching pants, but the star of her runway were those nails. They were so gorgeous, I had to give her a Fingerdoo too. I need to get some of those nails. Not wearing any today. And then it was time for the judges' critiques. Divima was first. Everyone agreed she started off well in the challenge, but she let her wig distract her. Anna thought her runway also looked a little plain. Poopy was next, and as expected, the judges expected a lot from her. Ambrosi was looking forward to her set, but felt it was just a lot of grandma jokes. Calvo agreed, but admitted he did like her runway. Carmen was next, and Los Javes loved that she channeled Paco Leon for the roast. Not only was she funny, but she played dumb to perfection. Go with your strengths is what I say. As for Carmen's outfit, she admitted that she'd brought a similar outfit to Divima's, so she whipped this one up in the workroom. Needless to say, the judges were gagged. She wrote a 5-minute roast and made an outfit all in the same day. I gagged a little too. That was impressive. Divima even piped up to say that not only did Carmen give up her outfit, she lent Divima her MTV statue and, due to some wardrobe issues Divima was having, ended up lending her the whole outfit. Here's to Carmen. I'm surprised. And then it got really emotional for Carmen and Divima, who ended up hugging it out in a shower of tears. It was really very touching, especially to see that Divima does have a heart deep down inside that cold exterior. Seriously. Continuing with the critiques, Killer was next, and the judges were very impressed by how well she did opening the show. Los Javes loved her character and the flow of her material, but her biggest compliment came from Supreme, who complimented her on her makeup. Everyone agreed. She looked gorgeous. Here's the Killer. Last but not least was Sagittaria. Calvo thought she had some good jokes, but she was too nervous to deliver them with confidence. I agreed, but she's young. She's got nowhere to go but up. Seriously. And with that, the queens went off to untuck as the judges deliberated. All the queens agreed it was the most emotional critique of the season. The obvious tops were Carmen and Killer, which left Divima, Sagittaria, and Poopy in the bottom. Poopy took offense to being lumped into the bottom like that and even made excuses that she normally performs for drunk people who don't pay attention anyway. I bet the audience in her next show is going to be a hoot. Sagittaria was clearly upset because the judges said she had good jokes, but then Davima chimed in by saying they were all good at what they do, and they were fine when they walked into the competition, so they don't need to conform to the judges' opinions now. Sounds like somebody who's going to be in the bottom. Carmen pointed out that this process was introducing them to things they hadn't considered trying before and exploring all their possibilities, which is also a good point. Of course, the queens asked Davima why she got so emotional on the runway. She said she didn't come into the contest looking to make friends. She was ready to be the bitch and argue with everyone. So, to find someone like Carmen who would give her the outfit off her back because she could make another one, surprised and touched her. I still think she wants Carmen to touch her, but then everyone needs a hobby. Back on the main stage, it was announced that this week's winner was Carmen Farala. Here's to Carmen. That's 3 wins for her now. The bottom 2 queens this week were Davima and Sagittaria, and then it was time for the lip sync, but the only queen doing any lip syncing was Sagittaria. For some reason, Davima just stood there doing nothing. Even when the judges started calling for her to move, she just shook her head. To Sagittaria's credit, she didn't let that stop her from turning it out. She ditched her jacket and let that ponytailed wig almost fly off her head, while Davima just watched with a smile on her face. No matter how Sagittaria tried to engage Davima, she just would not budge. This was truly disappointing for the other queens and the judges, but when the music stopped, there was nothing left to do but declare Sagittaria the winner and ask Davima to sashay away, but not before she explained herself. She came to Drag Race ready to do away with them all, but she felt Sagittaria deserved to stay in the competition and that she hadn't done as well and didn't want to be the reason for her leaving. It's very touching, but I for one don't think Davima would have stayed if she had lip-synced. Sagittaria had done better than her in the competition, and I feel like Davima would have sashayed anyway. Maybe Davima felt that and wanted to avoid sweating. I don't know. We're not friends. Probably because I'm too old and fat. So, what do you think? Were you disappointed in Davima? Do you think she could have stayed if she lip-synced? What about Poopy? Should she have been in the bottom instead of one of the other queens? Well, there's only 4 queens left. Who do you think is next to sashay? All we can do is tune into RuPaul's Drag Race España next week to see how it all plays out. And then, when you're done, you come on back and you see me. Now, don't forget to like this video if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't. I have some fun stuff planned for when we reach 10,000 subscriptions, so please feel free to share this video with anyone and everyone. And until next week, miss me! Mwah. Seriously, I'm so surprised I'm not sweating. I'm so disappointed in Davima. I get it, I understand. No, you know what? I'm lying. I don't get it. I don't understand. There should be a clause in the contract that if you don't finish the show, if you quit or you don't lip sync, that you don't get paid. Because there's too many queens that are probably sitting at home who didn't get on the show screaming, "It could have been me!" I'm so sorry that she didn't. You'd expect more from a bitch. Do you know what I mean? They're supposed to be so strong. Poopy's getting frustrated too, you can see it. 3 wins for Carmen. Do you think Killer will sneak up behind and steal it from her? I don't know. How do you steal a crown from a 3 Maxi Challenge winner? Peter Mean did it on Drag Race down under, but Scarlett wasn't winning that.